Welcome to Entrepreneurs, Executives, and Eccentrics, a podcast dedicated to the stories, strategies, and secrets of remarkable individuals. Join us as we engage in enlightening conversations with intriguing entrepreneurs, accomplished executives, and fascinating eccentrics, exploring their journeys, triumphs, and the unconventional wisdom that has shaped their success. Meet J.J. Garofalo, founder of Attorney Live. After 20 years in his family's legal benefits company, he saw the gap. Legal help hadn't gone on demand, so he built it. What started as a late-night idea is now a national platform, connecting people to attorneys in minutes. JJ blends old-school roots with a tech-first mindset, reshaping legal support, one consult at a time.
Hello, JJ. Tell me who you are and what you do.
Yeah, again, JJ Garofalo. I've been in the legal services industry for 19 years. And what that is we go to companies all over the country and offer our service, legal service, as a benefit for employees. And so through their payroll deduction, they get their own general practice law firm for all of their legal matters, and out of their monthly fee covers any hourly expenses for attorneys.
So wait, so what's that bit? I mean, it's for years. I've had access to that when I worked for other people. That was always like a checkbox, for $5.99 you could have access to, or whatever it was. I don't remember what the pricing was.
Right.
How does that business model work? You basically plug into a revenue of the company's payroll deductions, right?
Yep.
And then how do you go provide those services? Do you go like match with others? Like, how does that work exactly?
Yeah, so any business that has over 100 employees will go and introduce this to the human resource department. And through open enrollments and benefit fairs and through conversations with the employees when their health and their dental and their 401k plan and all their other benefit providers are there communicating and talking about it, whether it's via webinar or on site at the actual company locations, they'll talk about the services and the benefit it provides to the employee, their spouse, and their dependent children. It covers the whole family for those services.
How the hell did you come up with it? I'm just trying to imagine. Like, I mean, you obviously have some experience here somewhere, right? And then and you're like, if I plug into the benefits portion of this thing, it can be paid for, and I could provide a fantastic service, right? But in like an aggregate, like, how did you come up with this?
Well, so I have to give some credit to my dad. He started the business in 1991. And I've been there for the last 19 of the 33 years and really scaled it and took it up a notch. When I came on board, we didn't have any presence on social media. We didn't have any presence on our website, and we didn't have any training manuals or sales scripts or anything like that. So I built all of that over the last 19 years.
Yeah, because it's like he kind of constructed part of the ship, but he had one sail out, right?
Exactly. He built a nice foundation and put up a couple of the walls, and then I built the castle. And we have shareholders as well, but he started out very similar. He started in the cable industry and was in the cable industry, traveling all over the country when HBO and Showtime were a thing where you knock on doors and upsell people on their cable programs and packages for 15 years. And he was at a conference in Virginia Beach, Virginia, where we're headquartered for Cox Communications, and heard about it's called prepaid legal services industry, heard about the concept, and in 91 got licensed by the SEC Bureau of Insurance here in the state of Virginia. And in 2003 is when I came on board. And so they were still probably about 15 employees. We're over 5X that now. We're also over 5X our revenue. And through all of those experiences, I've had 6 positions here. I'm now the CEO of Legal Resources. And through that experience, I was in October of 2019, I have asthma, and I was on a telehealth consultation. And I got off the phone, it was 10 p.m. at night, I still remember it. And I thought, wait a minute, I've been in the legal services industry for 18 years at the time. I don't think of a legal provider that does tele-law, consultations with attorneys. And that's when it dawned on me. I was like, I got to create this thing.
Well, I love it. I love that you're like, and I can imagine from your perspective, you're like, you know what, I'm gonna go take that James Madison, right, that business degree and go learn something. Because like, when you think about it, you brought formalization probably to the business, the original business, right? And then when you saw the angle, right, you were almost built to receive that kind of understanding of that that kind of business model, right? And you're flying off with it. Okay, so you have this idea, 10 o'clock at night, and I mean, what do you do? Because we entrepreneurs, we're like this all the time, right? We're like, we write it down or we don't, or we forget about it. And then like 3 months later, we're like, wait a minute, I had an awesome idea a couple of months ago. Like, so where do you start with that? How do you kick that off?
Well, so just timing and contacts and connections helped a lot, right? So I'd been in sales and marketing for 10 years prior to that. I worked at the company right outside of James Madison University, where I went to college and an undergrad degree, and learned a lot of connecting, networking, and craft there. And once I got off that phone call, I just went to my, we'll call it Rolodex to age myself a little, and thought of who do I know that could help me formalize this other than just this concept, and thought that I got off the phone. I was like, well, let's just do tele-law. Let's just connect people with attorneys rather than doctors, and they can consult with, an attorney right in the comfort of their own home or when they're on the go or whatever. And locally in Virginia Beach, there's a group that we do charity work for. And I played, this is an interesting story. I played rec, dodgeball and kickball with this guy, and the guy's son-in-law was a senior developer for NBC Universal. And he's local in Virginia Beach, which this isn't really the developer kind of city and state that talented developers will work in. And I connected with him, and we literally, it's just like you would hear. We went to a restaurant, we kind of sketched it out of the app and the design and how it would look and flow. And then of course on the back end from a developer standpoint, engineer, he kind of put it all together, and we started working on it early 2020 pre-COVID.
I can't tell you how many people have said, well, COVID was worth things. Right? I can't tell you how many people, who said that, yeah, COVID was the thing that really got like kicked things off for us a little bit, because it allowed us to like really focus, right? Because you couldn't leave, you were just kind of stuck. And I want to say 80% of the people I talk to, which is like 8 people per week, 8 entrepreneurs per week, I bet 80% are like, yeah, COVID was where things made sense, right? Or things that took off or whatever, right? Okay, so you find a guy to execute your vision, right? And what's funny is that, if you describe this service now, you're like, oh yeah, that seems kind of obvious, right? But no, it wasn't obvious back then, was it? No one had thought of it yet. You were first.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy because again, like 18 years, I know all the legal providers out there in the entire country, and I couldn't think of one that does this. And I was like, this is impossible. Is this how the ideas start? When you have this big idea and you're like, wait a minute, I don't think anybody else is doing this. And then you do the research and you're like, nobody else is doing this. And then COVID. And
then you're like, why aren't they doing this? Yeah, why aren't they doing this, right? Then there's all you get to the research, like, wait a minute, is it right here and they're just not doing it? Or is there a legal reason or whatever, right?
Yeah. Or do they know something I don't, and they looked down that path and thought, that's not good and here's why. But coming to find out that wasn't the case. And then, again, like you said, when COVID hit, I was like, this is even a better idea. Now people can't leave. They don't travel. They don't want to go in front of people's offices and schedule those times. Wow, now they can do it from their home. This is genius. I love it. And I took those 18, 19 years and transitioned all of that legal services and employee benefits knowledge that I had. And I just applied it to B2C, but we also do B2B now at Attorney Live, which is cool.
Yeah, so I mean, that's the thing, is that when you think about it, you're probably uniquely suited for this, right? Yeah. You had the understanding and the kung fu it took to go, okay, well, I just need a carpenter to go build this new ship, right? I understand what it looks like. I know how to sail it. I know what the requirements are, and God, I mean, so how long has this new company been around?
May of 22 is when we officially launched in the marketplace.
God, and I mean, are competitors snapping at your heels now? I would imagine there's probably not zero competitors.
Of course, through social media and other channels, we're tracking, and yes, some of the largest players out there, like LegalZoom, Rocket Lawyer, are looking at us and watching us. I think it's also because of my position at Legal Resources in 19 years in that industry. They're already watching me from that standpoint, and now they see this new founder and CEO of Attorney Live. What's this guy up to? What is he doing? And they're tracking us and following us. And we're getting people that would typically go on Google and search, like, I need an attorney. And instead, they're trusting and coming to Attorney Live, which is vetted, qualified attorneys at the tip of their fingertips.
Now, are you leveraging like Zoom as kind of like the back end platform, or did you create this from scratch?
No, we use Twilio right now for our video conferencing.
Yeah.
And then we have a phone system too that will call out, just very similar to like a Teledoc or MD Live or any of those platforms on the telehealth side. It will then call the consumer and say this is Attorney Live calling, and it connects the attorney with the mobile user. So it's very seamless.
That's fantastic. Okay, so okay, so now you have this thing, because typically when we create this proof of concept, a little bit more than a POC, right, but not really kind of functioning, right? It's time to go elicit your first test client, right?
Yeah.
Who was that? I'm imagining it was someone you already knew.
So it was very bootstrapped when I started. I put in a lot of money myself, and then I had one small investor locally here. And we started in various channels, and me being in the industry for so long, I probably should have known better. But initially we started with a monthly subscription, right? So we did a soft beta launch in late 2021 before we officially went out after A and B testing. And we did a monthly or annual fee. So you could download our app, you could pay a monthly fee of $11.99 per month, or you could pay a transaction fee. And that didn't seem to work because people would have a need, they'd pay it, and then they would cancel the membership. Then we were like, oh no, we're gonna be geniuses and do a 14-day free trial, and they'll be able to try it, and they'll love it, and they'll stay. Same thing happened. They got on, they canceled before the 14-day was over. And so through these iterations and through this journey, what we found is 4 different revenue streams, not just one. The first one is transactional. So anytime somebody uses the mobile app, whether they go on Google Play or the App Store, they download the app, they schedule a consultation with an attorney, there's a small transaction fee. It's $9.99 to speak to an attorney for up to 1 hour of advice and consultation. Then if they want to retain the attorney, Scott, they get 25% off of the hourly rate of that attorney indefinitely until their case is closed. So we got the direct consumer, which they download it, schedule a consultation. We're also going to businesses of under 100 employees, a market that my other company doesn't market to. There are 100 or more employees. So Attorney Live focuses on companies that have less than 100 employees, and it's employer paid. So we already have companies that are paying it for all of their employees to use, and they don't have to pay that small transaction fee every time.
That's smart, because you basically needed a way for a group of humans to fund this almost a fractional type of way, right? Where it wouldn't bother them to pay 99 cents or $1 or whatever that monthly fee is, right? But you aggregate it all together, and on your side, it ends up being like $8-9 grand, right, per month. But from their perspective, it was $4 or $5 or whatever that number, how that kind of works out. More importantly, it's one of those things that it's almost like really is kind of an insurance thing, right? You're kind of paying into it a little bit, knowing maybe you may need it one day, and now it's just kind of a boom. You just get on and go. It's just interesting because you had to figure that out. You had to figure out that, well, they'll just take advantage of it with 15 days, and that's not going to work. And transactionally speaking, that's not going to work. And how did that come about? How did you figure that out?
Well, again, I always look back at that and think, you knew that industry, you knew that monthly wouldn't work because they would jump on, use the plan, and get off, from my past experience. But not only do we do the direct consumer, but now we also charge a technology fee to our attorneys to be on the network. So when the attorney joins, they pay a small annual fee, technology fee. They get 3 free clients from us to test drive the platform, make sure that they like it. Then after that, they pay a small annual fee just as a technology fee to us. We feed them qualified vetted clients based on the practice of law that they want to grow their law firm in. So if they only want to grow in family law, only want to grow in real estate, only want to grow in criminal matters, that's all that they select when they're joining our network. And we just feed them those kind of qualified clients.
Interesting. I bet you didn't see that coming, did you? In the beginning, it was, no, we're going to get fee, we're going to hook up attorney in person, and then you get on the inside, you're like, wait a minute. This is very valuable for people who need a top of the funnel addition to their business line, right? To their law firm, who wants to just do contractual basis. Maybe it's hyper local, maybe it's really like a city state type law, right? So it's like kind of zip code, sub zip code. And that's very valuable to an attorney, right? Yeah. Because now they just turn the faucet on.
Yep.
Right.
And there's about 1.3 to 1.5 million attorneys in the US. But best attorney for our platform are mostly the sole practitioners. They're practicing by themselves, right? They need to get their client base up. And there's about 46,000 attorneys in the US alone that are sole practitioners because we do the advertising for them. We give them the clients that they need based on the area of law that they practice. We also have perks that they get and benefits they get for being on our network. We have partnerships with Clio, so they get group discounting for Clio.
Yeah, I know Clio.
We have discounts for USI Insurance for liability. We have a partnership with Smith AI for virtual assistants for law firms. And we have a partnership with PandaDoc. And they get all of those benefits for joining our network as well. And we give them the clients and we do the advertising for them. So it's a no-brainer for the attorneys.
I think that it was just, it's interesting. I mean, I don't think this is the correct definition of it, but I think there's this concept in entrepreneurship of like network effect, right? Where you're getting money on both sides of the transaction, or you're actually, and you're enabling value on both sides of the transaction as well. It's like, what's interesting is, have you ever thought about selling this as a platform to another industry? I know it's occurred to you a little bit, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We're positioning for a few different options like that. One,
yeah, and that definitely smells like a buyout, right? It just smells like private equity is like, well, this other organization we happen to own needs something like this. Let's just go buy, JJ's outfit or their technology, and that a lot of times that's what happens. It's a matter of how do you receive that. I don't get that. I don't get the feel. I feel like this is your baby. You're gonna hold on for a while. Is what it feels like.
Yeah, I initially, probably a lot of entrepreneurs, they go into something, they're like, oh, I want to get acquired in 3 years. But as we're growing and as we're building it, like you just said, it's sort of my baby. I want to hold on to this. And we really want to be the household name in tele-law. Because again, we're really stamping our name in that industry because no one else has. They're not focused in that area. So we want to be known as the go-to mobile app for tele-law.
It's interesting. I don't know. I love how it was kind of, you just kind of dipped your toe into, and you're like, oh crap, there's more money here on the other end of the actual transaction. Okay, so where does this go from here? I mean, you keep beating the technology into submission until it's, a bit more it's steady. Then all the things that kind of happen, right? And then you had to go learn how to sell this, which was, to your point, you had the experience of doing it. How are you growing this? Are you growing this to a sales team? Are you how is this? From the sales side, how is that working?
Yeah, so I have a 3-person marketing team, a creative director who's absolutely amazing with Google Ads, Google Search, Instagram, all the social, right? And I have 3 sales reps that know the insurance industries, the affinity partners. And so we're having conversations with companies like MasterCard right now to embed it in their benefits and perks of their cardholders. We're having conversations with like Hartford Insurance, implementing in all their policy holders, auto companies as a buy up and add on to their auto policy. Because look, you get a speeding ticket, you need an attorney. And guess what? If you get an attorney, they get you off the ticket, the insurance company's better off because now they don't have a bad driver record. And so we're having more expanded conversations with these larger organizations that would pay Attorney Live an annual fee and then be able to blanket it out to all of their members, whether maybe it's a bank, it's the members of all the bank, and that's an extra perk that they get for having a checking savings account for what have you with their bank. So those are the conversations we've started to have it late last year and have a bunch of them scheduled for this year.
Yeah, that's interesting because there's actually a third player. So you're saying it's not just the person needs the legal, it's not just the lawyer, which by the way, everybody's benefit. There's a third option, right, where they start to leverage their own type of aggregate of their own kind of customers, right? And so there's actually 3 revenue streams. Did you say 4 before?
There's 4. So the attorney annual fee, the direct consumer transaction. I need an attorney, and I'm going to download the app. There's the B2B, right? They pay the annual fee for all their employees to have it, and then there's the insurance carriers, which is the 4th.
Right. Okay. So there may be a 5th, right? Where some aggregator comes in there and is like, oh my God, I could go piece all these together. And then now it's even, you're onto something.
Yeah.
And I would imagine it's one of those things that just keeps you up. Because you're like, oh man, I'm onto something. No one else is doing this yet, right? It just builds at 15-hour days. And you're like, oh, I guess I have kids who are now in high school. It's just, it gets going faster and faster,
Yes, I do. I have 3 daughters, 13, 10, and 9, and 13, 10, and 5, excuse me. And I wake up in the middle of the night, but it's a good wake up. It's like, something else came to me. Oh, I got this new idea. Oh wait, we should do this.
Well, in the beginning, it's, oh my God, payroll's next week, right? And then it's a little bit more money comes in, and then it's really more like, okay, how am I going to make sure this goes, right? And then you realize you need a sales team, and it's a contracts, and like, what am I doing through DocuSign, and like, how am I going to get paid? Like, all that kind of stuff, it just gets on your shoulders, right? But it sounds like you've had enough experience to know who you need hiring wise.
Yeah, and as a leader in a company, an organization, you also carry the weight of making sure that your employees and your team members have a livelihood, right? And so you're also thinking about that, especially in a startup world. You're like, okay, I've got these 10 employees that are working in this startup. I'm working behind the scenes on the cash flow and revenue and raising money and things like that. But every day they're waking up, they're thinking, hey, this is a great company, and I got to make sure the lights stay on as well. And so I carry that weight in a good way because I know that this will be great for them and their careers and their lives. But yeah, there's a lot of different heavy weights we all carry as entrepreneurs.
There's no partners, there was no prior. This is your first ship of your own.
That's correct. If I go way back, Scott, I did own a DJ company for about eight years. I started myself. And that was early on, early 20s. I created contracts, and I did weddings, bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs, clubs, things like that. So I kind of had that entrepreneurial sense from a very young age as well.
Glorious. That's just, I don't know. And I want to say Bill Gates. There was a couple of one of his books, 3 books back. He talked about some of the one of the sniff tests when he was hiring engineers is when the parent was also an engineer, right? Yeah. My dad was an entrepreneur, but he was also an NASA engineer. He was also, he's also a mathematician. But I'd like to believe I got a little bit of that stuff from him. Do you also credit a tiny bit to Dad?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, watching him, it's interesting back then in the cable industry before he started Legal Resources, they were very entrepreneurial driven back then because, again, the premium channels, i.e. HBO, Showtime, Cinemax, things like that, it was they had general managers of each one of their offices, and you grew that market, and then they moved you on to a new one. So you grew these individual markets, and through that, and through watching him, start Legal Resources and growing up around that, I definitely got some of that from him, and a lot of the skills for the first, call it 10 years that I was here. A lot of lessons learned, hard lessons learned sometimes too, some hard love, but lots of good lessons.
Yeah, my dad was a bit of a psycho about this. So we would be driving to school, and he would point out a business, and he would go and ask me to break it down. And we did that since I was probably 8 or 9. We're like, well, the gas station, they probably buy gas for X and sell it for Y. And then we would literally guess. We'd try to work out in the car how much revenue was actually being created by that one example of a business or whatever. But I didn't actually execute an actual business until I was in my, late 30s, I guess. And then you have kids and all these other worries, all these concerns and houses to worry about and all that stuff to kind of go along. It's a little bit scary, right? So what is the future in that? So you talk about kind of finding these larger networks to plug into, the Hartfords, the bigger insurance companies. Where does this go? What is the ultimate goal for this? It also sounds like there's a platform play where you sell this to other kind of platforms as well.
Yeah, there's a white label opportunity to sell it and license it out. There's also, there's a couple of thoughts I have. The first is to make a mega app. So it's one app that does telehealth, tele-law, telefinancial, teletherapy, all in one, right? So this is like a teledoc meets Attorney Live meets BetterHelp meets whatever financial platform there are, right? And it's all in one mega app. And so we would have to combine forces or do a merge. So that's the one thought. The second thought is we grow this and scale this and become the household name again for tele-law. And we go to companies like Clio. Clio is all back-end software for law firms. So they're billing, invoicing, calendar.
I'm aware. Yeah. My very close friend of mine he started his own law firm. So I've been like watching him kind of Clio it all together,
So so Jack Newton's the founder of Clio. Clio has over 250,000 attorneys that use their technology. And I would love to I've met him at a conference that he had, ClioCon in Nashville. I'd like to have a sit down 5 minutes with him and talk about integration, because it's a value add for his attorneys too. So we could feed through our network API call, not to go too deep in detail, but API call into his network. If our network doesn't pick it up, and feed them a qualified lead as well that they could bring on board. And so that's another big play, to partner with a company like Clio, that there's a lot of synergy already there. And we do different things.
I'll make sure to tag him on LinkedIn, and I think he's on Twitter too. I'll make sure to tag him on this little short, that little 12 seconds you just said, because it's the kind of thing that of course it seems obvious, right? It seems like that is, I mean, what a great play for you too, because now you plug into 250,000 people, and now you're a lead source, and now it's a completely different revenue model again, and it's just, gosh, every time you turn around, there's a revenue angle that I don't think most businesses really have, right? I mean, think about my businesses. I have a software company and a publishing company. There's maybe 3 revenues, and they're all very obvious. Yours, I kind of, if you keep scratching down, there's another and another. But JJ, we're out of time, man. It was really awesome talking to you, and I'm gonna check, if you don't mind, let's check back in 6 months to a year, and I'll make sure to tag the Clio CEO to see if we can get some movement.
Yes, Jack Newton, here we come.
Come.
I appreciate it, Scott. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you.